Hi, and welcome to Fathoms Deep, a Black Sails podcast from Common Room Radio. I am Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive, and we have the most special guest here today.
The most special.
As your Christmas present, everyone, we have Luke Arnold.
Hey, everybody. Hello, ladies. Thank you for having me.
We must have been very, very good girls. This is a very good Christmas present.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Well, it's exciting for me, too. I think since Black Sails is officially done, I don't think I still haven't stopped talking about it. So to come and officially talk about it with you is going to be a lot of fun.
Yay.
Fantastic.
All right, Luke, we have some questions for you.
All right. Fire away.
Okay, my very first question that I've been dying to ask you. I have to say that when we met at New York Comic Con, I resisted the urge to talk to you about all sorts of things. I might have even said that to you, that I resisted the urge to talk about all sorts of things because I was trying to save it for the podcast.
Yeah, you said you were saving some things, which is good.
She's such a tease.
All right, so let's...
Yeah.
I like talking about Black Sails.
It's true. Yeah, she's a big fan.
Okay, Luke, first question, perhaps an easy one. Is it better to be liked or feared?
Ooh, a little bit of both. I think Silver's completely right with that. And it applies to so many things. But it is, because it is one thing to be liked. It's good to be liked. Mm-hmm. But it's useful to be a little bit feared as well. Yeah. I don't want to bring up too many specific, reasons where you really want that.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely do think that you want to always keep a balance of both.
Yeah, we just last night talked about the season finale of season 3. So we're very, I know that your head is very much in season 4. Our heads and our listeners' heads are very much in seasons 1 through 3 because we just finished that.
Yeah,
very fresh.
Fun. It's funny. I've actually seen all but the final episode of season 4. I actually missed out a chance to see it yesterday because I was filming something else.
Oh, no.
So still, even though I've seen, we've shot all of 4 and seen all of 4, there is something about 3 is the last fully complete season I've seen. Mm-hmm. So 4, I'm still digesting 4. So yeah. And 3 is one for me that is still, 4 is so fantastic, still so much forming in my head exactly how it all comes together. Where 3 really was, I think it was so much the moment where it was the payoff of everything beforehand. So 3, I still don't know what my favorite season is yet. It's probably out of 3 and 4. And I mean, they're all so good. But I actually always feel like 3 is probably going to be my favorite as far as both my experience of it. So happy to talk 3 all day long.
Do you lose the thread of the narrative a little bit when you're filming and have to kind of get the big picture when you actually sit down to watch the season? Or are you able to keep it in your head pretty well?
I think that was one of the beauties of season 3 was that it was so episodic. It really had that feeling. It's got you got the opener, the storm, the Rackham, the fire ship, the maroon camp. It's like you could, every episode, as much as it was this serialized big story, everything felt very defined. And I think that was one of the greatest things about the 3rd season.
That's true. They almost were like little movies.
Yeah.
That is totally true.
That, which is hard to do in serialized television, especially when you're dealing with stories as dense as the writers are on this show, where everything, it really is going to end up being a 38-hour movie.
Yep.
And it is one long story, which is the other reason why it's ending after season 4, is because when you feel the story coming to an end, it's not the kind of story you can go, oh, now we tell something else. It's like, no, this is one story from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. And yeah, but I think the 3rd season was, and the 4th season is very much like a 10-hour film in its own right. It's I can think of exactly what each episode is. I think it still has some of that episodic quality, but it is a drive to the finish line, where the 3rd season was the closest we get to a different adventure every week.
Interesting.
Do you have a favorite episode that you shot?
Oh, it's really tough.
I'm sure it's tough, yeah. And it might even be a different answer for which episode you appreciate most as an art form and which one you appreciated filming. Yeah,
right.
I think out of it's probably a toss-up. My favorite episodes, for me, and especially as far as me and Silver, is probably either the Becalmed episode and 409. 409 is my favorite written episode ever. I think it's
so excited.
It's pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very excited.
And the finale I haven't seen yet, so I can't comment, which could
Right.
that's as you can imagine, it's everything. But as far as whole episode, like 409 is pretty spectacular. To do was amazing. It does have a different feel to the entire rest of the show, I'd say. You know, which doesn't say anything at all, but it definitely felt different. But out of everything you've seen, 303, that was real. I mean, it was something else. It's amazing that you're shooting an episode of TV and you're asked to go like, hey, can you guys lose a bunch of weight? Like, even that alone.
I was so concerned for you watching that episode. It was like painful for my heart.
And it wasn't you. It was everyone I bumped into in like the week.
I'm sure.
Going, like, dude,
Good God,
sick.
You looked pretty sick. You were very believable as someone who was having crazy ideas.
Yeah, we were going pretty mad, but it was an amazing thing that everyone did that. It wasn't just like Tom, Toby, and I. It was everyone with a little speaking role, you know, or just people who weren't saying anything, but they were part of the crew. And I don't know many TV shows at all that would even consider trying to do something like that, or have people go, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to over the, you know, lead up to the Christmas break, kind of starve myself, just eat nothing and do a lot of cardio, which is two of the worst things imaginable.
So hard on your body.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, I appreciate it, the things we do for our art, I suppose, but geez, Louise. Yeah.
Right.
But the thrill of that is like, it just reminds me how every single person in this show was trying to make the best show on television every week. It was never about what we would get out of it. It was an excitement to make this as good as it could be with whatever it took. And every single person doing that episode. And it was crazy because we're shooting in the wind as well. Like, it's kind of comic how, like, in over those seasons, we just need a wind. It's a gale going by. We had to weigh our kids down with weights. They'd sew weights into their
Are you
head.
serious?
Yeah, and, like, my hair, it's why I had to have the ponytail in that episode, is because they had to almost glue my hair down. Because the wind's blowing the whole time. Like, Cape Town is the windiest place in the world. So it was crazy that you had to kind of stop for wind and wait for a break and shoot in between any time we were above deck or kind of in the rowboat. So it was crazy to try and do that for so many reasons. And then the shark as well. Like, I've seen that there are similar scenes done in other movies and recent movies and stuff, and I honestly go like, I think we did it better. There's something about to accomplish these things that feel like they only have been ever done in feature films before, and even never done to the scale we do it in feature films. It wasn't even at that level you could do it. That, you know, not many years ago. To do those things for the first time is really fun, and the storm was amazing. Yeah, but I think for the emotional journey and what we got to do, you know, just anytime you begin with me, with Flint, Silver, and Billy in a room together arguing in three directions, is like that. Was always felt like, for me and my experience with the show and the characters, that was like, okay, we're starting where we're in little mini Treasure Island prequel mode, which just kind of feels right.
Oh, of course.
That's excellent.
And so many things. And Toby just kills it in that episode. And
yeah, he does. Both of you were really phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to watch. I mean, obviously, but a pleasure to watch.
I still got it's crazy. It is funny when you start getting into award season, and you know, at a certain point, you kind of just accept the fact that go, okay, we're just going down there and busting ourselves.
I don't accept it at all. I tweeted about it yesterday. I'm actually,
I'm
quite upset.
But you can't do it for that. And I have to say, like,
no, of course.
That's the beauty of like shooting a show in Cape Town and being kind of in our own little bubble making this thing. Then it's funny, you get to LA and suddenly everyone's worried about all these particulars of kind of industry kind of stuff, and it's like, can't we just go back down to Cape Town and like get immersed in a little pirate world and kind of, you know, and especially because we were halfway through the second season before the first season even aired, which then felt like another year. You know, we're kind of shooting the third season before people kind of start paying attention, which is when the second season was airing. So for a while, we really did feel like we were just doing this for ourselves. Like someone had just given us a ridiculous amount of money to go down and play pirates for a few years.
Well, and tell an amazing story.
Yeah. And then by the time the third season's airing, which is where really like the show's reaching new heights and people are really starting to freak out about it, we're getting ready to shoot the finale and it's all done.
Yeah.
So it was a very strange experience. So that's why when it comes to like the award season and this and that, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, hey, I think the fact that Toby Stephens isn't being nominated for stuff every year is crazy. But that whole thing is crazy and separate to the work. And so I had to accept that.
Okay, but I just would like to say for the record that it is so wrong that you were not nominated for season 3. That's just my opinion.
Look, I agree with you. I'm such a fan of our show that I think season 3 of Black Sails is some of the best TV ever made. I think it's crazy.
Absolutely it is.
Yes.
And but I think it's still a show, like you've both said, that you didn't expect the show to be what it is.
Of course.
And I think the show's still fighting that.
You're right.
Both entertainment media and the fan base kind of follow each other. It could be a bit of a chicken before the egg thing. So we have some. It's great having you as champions of the show and other people out there who are champions of the show, and that's how we're getting the word of mouth around. But it is that thing that until you watch it, no one expects this show to be what it actually is.
No, that's definitely true. I mean, Liz at least had the whole tall ships thing.
Yeah, it had a reason to come in.
It's
yeah.
To be honest, I personally never thought particularly much about pirates or ships. I do like the sea very much, but yeah, no, but it's the storytelling. It's the storytelling and the characters and the acting. And yeah, I've been pretty clear lately, like your arc to me is, Silver's arc as portrayed by you gets a little confusing.
Maybe both. Maybe I grew up in a very strange way through those 4 years.
But Silver's arc is incredible. And I think a lot of people have the experience when we know this because we've gotten a lot of friends to watch this show for the first time. Mm-hmm. So we know
especially
this.
Daphne.
Yeah.
You can thank Daphne for at least, God, how many? Probably 50, 60 viewers just to Daphne alone, which is pretty good for one voice. That's pretty damn good.
Better than I've done. Yeah.
But yes, Silver in the beginning is just so interesting. Like, I always love when people are like, seriously, you like this dude? And I'm like, yeah, just wait.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things. That was the fun of the role in so many ways. And
of course.
It's because I think I've tweeted before, and I forget if we talked about it, that, there was a chance at the beginning that I was going to be Vane. When I first came in,
I was going to bring that
long hair and a beard. I was looking closer to Silver later on. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I did the audition for. And then I was signed to the show without a character. They said, like, okay, you're on the show. We don't know who you're going to be yet. If we find a Vane, you're Silver. If we find a Silver, you're Vane.
Fascinating.
So I was on the show for 6 weeks, just hitting the gym and going like, okay, I guess I'm going to South Africa, and I don't know what I'm doing in the show. Obviously, they found Zach McGowan, and you go, okay, this dude, Zach McGowan, who opened his audition with, "My name is Zach McGowan, and I am Charles Vane." And I'm like, okay, motherfucker. But,
I love that.
But he was, and he is, and
he was, and he is,
and the show would never have been the same without it. But around that time was when people were asking me, like, my agents are going like, well, who should we push for? Who do you want to be? And it's like, well, if we do one season, I want to be Vane because I want to be badass pirate.
Oh, interesting.
Of course.
If we do 3 or 4 seasons, going, I want to be Silver because that's the journey. That's it. Vane's journey was fantastic, but with Silver we got to do something very different. And I wonder if it's an Australian thing that I think when you're planning development of a character, it seems to me Schmitz and I were the two that made the choices, it seems, is to just make sure our characters were not very cool. That seemed to somehow, I think that just kind of entertains us. I think it was the Australian sense of humour or just our own particular interest is that in different ways, they are not very cool at the beginning. They're kind of so...
That belly flop is classic. It's so great.
Yeah, he's a complete goof and foot in mouth and kind of has some charm, but thinks he's got charm where he doesn't. And
yes, exactly.
Yes.
But I think and so but that was kind of the fun, is that you go like, the further we can take him away from who we love him to be, the more fun it is when he gets there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So it was that gamble that it wouldn't have... I don't think there's a lot of great stuff in season 1, but if we had ended there, it was like you go, oh, damn, I should have just tried to be a cool pirate for a season.
Yeah.
But I think it's great that feel when people kind of... It seems so unbelievable when you look back and you feel like you can believe the journey, but it also seems kind of crazy that this guy went from this point the point he began at to the one we see him at. And that definitely, I feel like it changes. He changes so much again in the fourth season. I feel like I've been playing a different Silver every season, and I play like another 3 in season 4. So more kind of internal shifts, but there's definitely
right.
I think the way he fits into the show changes almost every act of the 3 acts that is season 4.
Wow.
That I don't know about, but my question for you about that was, I think it was Toby who told us that you were kind of like the person who knew the most about Treasure Island, that everyone went to you for information. So when you started and made the choices that you made, and the writing was what it was, and that you made the choices you made about Silver, like how much, it's sounding like you all didn't know how many seasons you would have, but I'm gonna say you went in with the assumption that maybe there would be a full story here. I
think you have to play it for that. Yeah, I think you have to go in and play imagine that we're going long form with this. I think we also had an idea that unless we completely botched it up, there'd be a second season because...
Right.
So we knew we were going to get a full season because they have to build all this stuff.
And it's a big investment.
Yeah, that's right. You got that big investment, and then we have to be shooting season 2 before season 1 airs. So they have to bank on it themselves rather than see how numbers and ratings and things go.
Yes.
So, which is an amazing thing for, my first American TV show going, unless we royally screw this up, or, when the ship blows over, which any day that could have happened in season 1, they would have been like, okay, everyone go home, this isn't going to work.
Right.
But it was like, okay, we're going to have enough time to kind of at least flesh this out to a particular point. And just say it had only been 2 seasons, there is, that second season, it would, a lot would have been left unsaid, but a lot happens at the end of the second season that kind of, go, that could have been the end of that story. That sets up enough, there are enough changes, it felt like a finale.
Silver's arc in particular, because you did go from like selfish loner to person who was committed to the crew.
And it's interesting, I was thinking about that again and listening to some of your podcasts. It is funny. It is interesting that they threatened to torture Silver in episode 2 of season 1. No, episode 3 of season 1. And because he isn't connected to anyone and he says he's a coward and he's like, I'll tell you anything. They can't. Right. They have nothing, he's like, I'll squeal for anything.
So true.
And he's such a loner. And it's interesting that as much as he looks after himself, I think it's also that he's smart enough to know, this keeps you safe. You're not threatening to anyone. Right. You don't have ties with anyone. You don't owe anyone anything. There's nothing they can do to you. And saying, it's the first time we see him being a coward is him saying, I'm a coward. And I think it's become very
keeps him safe, but keeps him small. Yeah,
that's right. It's like, I'm not a threat to anyone. There's no point coming after me. There's no point. I'm not going to come up against you with my ego either. I don't have any of that. I'm no threat to anyone. I just maybe have something to offer you. That's it. And then it is the thing that costs him is that they say name names and he says no. And it is, it's interesting to go it is an internal shift with him that's absolutely gone on to allow that in. But also it's it's just tying himself to these guys is what did it. And so that it is, you're right, that arc from the beginning of season 1 to 2, those 18 episodes are their own little mini movie. And then it's kind of once that was done, by the end of that, you've seen, Silver's had his little arc, Flint's had his massive arc. A lot of the characters of, Vane now, he's where, which was always the plan, from the beginning to see Vane be an antagonist and then switch over and together they're going to, take on the, take on civilization. It's okay, that was the prequel, to Black Sails in a way. Once those first 2 seasons are done, then it was okay, what kind of fun can we have now? And what kind of stuff can we dig into? I kind of forget what the questions are if I'm answering questions, but I'm just talking.
Don't worry about it, Sudie. You're...
Okay, good. I'll just keep talking.
It's all fun for us.
It's all compelling.
So I guess, my question here was, I was just curious, how much of that bit, I guess, let's say seasons 1 and season 2, how much of that was laid out for you ahead of time? Did you, I guess what I love is okay, there's Treasure Island Silver. We know who that person is. For me, one of the big moments where I fell in love with this show is the idea that what brings Silver somehow to the person we know in Treasure Island is the fact that he becomes invested in other people and that there's huge consequences for that. Like that's so gorgeous. And so how much did you have did they lay that out for you ahead of time? Like, were you always going towards that direction, or you didn't, or like it was kind of something that evolved over time?
Yeah. Was that in the pitch?
Yeah. I think it actually happened. I don't know if it was set out at the very beginning, because it's interesting how all the dynamics play out. Season 1's interesting for Silver because he was kind of the MacGuffin. Like he plays you're with like, kind of episode 2, you're with his point of view, but the moment he burns the directions to the Urca, like he's the MacGuffin now, and he's kind of more of a plot point than a character for some of it.
For sure,
he's there, but people are chasing him, and so okay, I'm chained to a couch for this episode, and he's kind of here,
that's a good episode for Silver changing.
It actually really is. I think And it was an interesting one to go. I think there was a bit of a reevaluation between 1 and 2 of going, okay, who is he amongst all this? And it was definitely on both sides that I kind of, as we were going into the second season, I think we'd identified that was the kind of thing that stuck out. That's what Silver had said over and over. I look out for me. I'm just after number 1. And I think it was partly, I'm sure it was in John's head from the very beginning, because he said from the very beginning of the talk, like, it's about the central relationship of this story is Silver and Flint, who barely talk for the entire first season.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that next step of bringing him in. So I'm sure a lot of that was in John's head and part of that arc. But I actually think that is something that I think has evolved, and I wouldn't even dare to try and poke into the mind of John Steinberg.
We'll have him on. We can ask him that question.
Yeah,
then.
but I don't think John, he has a lot of it in his head, but I think you want to know, it's like even watching shows like this, you want to know that they have a plan, but you also want to know that there's some organic, creative energy going on. And I think where I see it with Black Sails, I think kind of plot-wise and overarching philosophy, that kind of philosophy and theme of the show, I think is always in his head, and the plot and where things are going to go is mostly in their head. But I think characters, the kind of arcs of characters has been a very malleable thing. Because, the great thing about that is because I think it's had a lot to do with who they cast and how particular moments and scenes played out. I think you absolutely see that in the relationship of the Ranger crew. If that whole story could have gone differently, if in real life those three weren't the coolest, funniest trio ever. And, there's a little bit of incongruous stuff there. At the beginning you see hints of the script before these three are cast, and you go, okay, Rackham and Bonnie are kind of going, maybe we want to kick Vane, maybe we should be leaders instead of Vane. And then there's a certain point where it's like, just because of the energy between them, you go, we're just going to forget that and think, like, these are the greatest trio of friends in the world. Like, but something gets a goodbye. And I think so much of that you just invest with going, because Schmitzy and McGowan are just the greatest buds. And, and also, like, how could you have imagined what Toby Schmitz was going to do with that role before casting Schmitz? How could you have known what you could put Zach McGowan through physically before you had like an element like Zach McGowan to throw into the show, which is just a kind of inhuman beast who will do anything. and the other thing as well, I don't know if people have said this to you, like we rehearse almost every scene. Every scene over 2 pages is the rule, but we rehearse a lot of them 2 weeks before we shoot it, generally.
We didn't know that.
So during the pre-production, the director, because it's that rolling thing that there's one director doing an episode, like prepping an episode, another director shooting, another director in post, and that kind of ball rolls on all through the season. So when a director comes into town and they're prepping their episode, if we happen to have any small time off, sometimes it's at lunch times of shooting the one we're on, the actors and the director, usually with a writer, will go in and rehearse the scene. And the director of photography will kind of silently watch, which is very different to what a lot of TV. Usually what happens is you rock up on the day, it's kind of mostly lit, your choices as an actor are very limited, your choices to change maybe off of script ideas are very limited because we're shooting now. Like, okay, let's run it once, it's all lit. So it gave a chance to feel like the rehearsal of a play for every episode, where you get to go in and between the actors and the director, you feel it out. You try different things. You see what works for you. You see what props you could bring in on the day, and all those kinds of things let us feel like we actually have an ownership of the show that I know from talking to a lot of actors, you think you're never going to have in television. You think like, well, no, these machines don't give you the time to have that.
Right.
That was something kind of brought in by Mark Munden, who directed episodes 5 and 7 of season 1. And there was an immediate feeling of like, you suddenly went, oh, hang on a second. This helps everything.
Yes.
And look, some TV, you know, some procedural stuff, you can do it on the day. You can learn your lines in the makeup chair, rock in, throw it out. Steinberg-y philosophy wrapped up in period speak is not something like that only benefits from more time spent working on it, like putting your acting chops and a director's chops onto that and really seeing how can we bring this out. So I think that's one of the reasons why walking away from this, it doesn't just feel like, I think for anyone, but especially for the cast, like, oh yeah, we went in and said our lines and did our piece. It's like, no, there was a great mix of everyone in this feeling like we got to bring these characters to life. And
you did.
It felt like
you in fact
they would have been so different with anyone else. Yeah. So which was just so great for us and so makes it so hard to walk away from as well.
I'll bet it does.
You could try to convince them to do another season. We would not be sad about that.
Well, let them. They told the story.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of ending your story where your story ends, personally, because you're right. It just turns to shit after that, and then everyone's disappointed and wish that you just stopped. So it's good that you birthed a perfect baby and you sent it out into the world.
That is totally true. No, I'm just horribly greedy.
It's lucky the rewatch value is so good.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually right. There is.
I am proof of that.
Yeah. You are the living proof that you can watch this show to eternity.
Mm-hmm. But I'm yet to find the end of that.
Yeah. I mean, I get caught up too showing people. It's like, oh, you haven't seen the show? Just watch this scene. Actually, you should see what this actor does. Actually, you really like him? Check out this scene as well. There is so
that makes
much
me so happy that you're doing the same thing that we do.
It still blows my mind what we did down there. Like it never got old, and it doesn't happen. It's not so like that all the elements come together like they did, where it's a bunch of really nice people on a show where the writing feels really good and keeps getting better and everyone feels invested and the network lovingly throw money at it to do bigger, better things because they're fans of the show. That never happens. Any of that ever happens.
No, it's magic.
So I still... And that we pulled it off as well as that I think we did and that people who are watching the show seem to think we did. It's
absolutely.
And the good thing is there's enough of this show that I'm not in. The beauty of an ensemble cast is that, like, I wouldn't be as comfortable doing that if I was in every shot of it. But because it's like, there's so much of this that I'm not in that I'm like, I can go, I love that show.
Right.
Then for all, my own actory insecurities, I can go, well, if my stuff falls in amongst this, I'm going to have to also trust that's pretty good as well. So it's, I couldn't be prouder, so I can't stop showing off to people. And because there's still so many people that are like, I was meant to get around to watching that. It's like, just watch a little bit now, because you have no idea what you're in for.
Yep.
And it's proud of all the people I work with. I think, we don't really, anyone who sees us talking on social media and stuff, it's pretty clear that we're like the biggest fans of each other. So it's so hard to not want to show my friends' work to everyone else.
To evangelize it. Yeah.
And talking about another season,
I understand.
like John, Dan, and Robert, those guys have had like 3 weeks off in 4 years because what it takes to write these episodes and the visual effects on them. And they'll go like, okay, we've locked the first 3 episodes. Actually, we've unlocked them because we want to change some stuff again. Okay, we've locked, it never ends because they care so much. And then if you were to talk to like the physios that look after the cast on this, they'd also be like, yeah, these guys need a few years off before doing any of this again.
Right.
If we'd gone back there I don't think 6 months was enough to recover from season 4 physically. It was like, and when you see it, you'll get why. For every single character, I'm still finding little things going, oh, there's that night of shooting is still kind of hurting certain parts. So I think that was one of the things too, that you can't put everyone through the kind of things you get put through to make a show like this.
Right.
Forever, and something really bad's not going to happen. And for the most part, there's also a feeling like I think it's good that we got out when we did, because we were trying some crazy stuff and yeah, I think at a certain point you go, let's walk out on a win, and while everyone still actually has their limbs.
Yeah. Well, at least in reality.
Right. Wow. Well, I think that it shows so much how richly textured this show is. I'm not surprised at all. It was such a light bulb when you said that you had rehearsed it as though it were a play, and that everyone got that chance to put a little more of themselves into the characters and to think about those scenes in different ways than you would be able to, because it does have, I don't know how else to say it except that that richness and that subtlety that you do not expect from television. You just don't. It really went above and beyond, and so I'm thrilled to know that you got. I don't know, that wasn't accidental, and it wasn't somebody pointing at you and saying, "Now make this face," which would be hugely frustrating as an actor anyway.
Right. No, and we had some amazing directors that but you can only use those directors if you're prepared, and that if you've got your lines down and like what we do is not only do you get like the lines down, and then kind of on the weekends we'd go to each other's places. So, hey, let's just run that scene a few times. And then over beers, you'd kind of talk about it and go, actually, maybe I should do this at that moment and this and that. You'd spend all this time digesting it. So then if on the day the director is like, more like this, or now just go for one, you know it and you can play with it. And that started day one and it never stopped and that does happen on a lot of TV shows where you can come in day one, everyone's like, oh, we got the first episode down. Lines learned. And then by episode 4, everyone's coming in and okay, let's all read our lines off our scripts once, and then kind of try it a few times. What's that line again? It's like, this just wasn't that show. Like, you came in and you saw, people coming in for an episode got it very quick. Mostly they're all fantastic actors, didn't even need to, but you knew very quickly this was not a show where you walk on the set, script in hand, and kind of, you get it in your head during the rehearsal. It's like, no, you come in really prepared. And that's a lot to do with having Toby Stephens as number one, who's just ridiculous.
The consummate professional, I'm sure. Yes.
Yeah. He is in fact ridiculous.
Yeah, he's completely... like, what he does, what he's capable of, how lovely he is as a man, it doesn't make any sense. And, so let alone just being around him and wanting to feel it all like, to feel anything like you're carrying your weight against someone like him. But if you ever have to do a scene across from him and say a line to him, you'd better be really prepared, because the thing that switches on behind his eyes between action and cut, it's something else.
So wait, so you're saying he's not actually terrifying?
He is between action and cut. Any other time, no.
I'm a little afraid of him.
When Flint comes out, it's really bizarre. And we both, in season 3, like, around the same time, myself, Luke Roberts, and Toby Schmitz all had moments where they have to like look Flint in the eye and have a moment.
Right.
And after each of them, the three of us would get together and go like you come off set and like send a text going, guys, let's grab a beer. It's just like, I stared into Flint today. It's just like, it's crazy, right? It's like,
I don't envy you that, to be honest.
Oh, I do.
Like, I was like, Luke Roberts.
This sounds like just the best experience.
Yeah, Luke Roberts is Luke Roberts is the most prepared, professional, fantastic actor. Like, him coming on the show was so brilliant. He is so ridiculously charming. Like, what he does with that character is great. This character that you think you're going like, we should hate him, but
we should hate
love
him.
This guy.
We should hate him.
And
yes, I watch him and I feel guilty all the time how much I like him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's so great. It is fantastic. And you couldn't have picked a better person to come in for that role. But so prepared, so kind of master of his own domain as you needed to play that role. And just hearing him talk about that suddenly Flint gets out his boat and walks up that beach and it's like it all disappears. Yep. You're like, there is staring into the eyes of Captain Flint is very different to sitting around in craft services making jokes with Toby Stephens.
And to be honest, you of all of the people, you managed to survive doing them more than anyone in the most terrifying situations.
You just wait.
I'm so excited.
I don't want to think about it. I am completely in denial about how season 3 ended, which we did just talk about yesterday in our world, in actual recording world.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. I am terrified for both Flint and Silver because, to be honest, Mister, at the end of season 3, Silver's pretty fucking scary also.
But it's also kind of great. Like, amongst whatever they're saying and however you take it, they're like buddies at that point. Like, they're like, they kind of get each other and they're friends. And it's interesting, people, because I obviously haven't listened to the podcast you just recorded, but talking about when he's saying, like, that I may be the end of you. It's interesting reading different people's response on that, if it's a threat. But I think they've got such I think there is really an honesty with each other at that point. I think they are. Yeah. They are real. They are allies. And so it is, that's the fun thing going into season 4. It's like, these guys they're best friends right now, whatever that means in their world with their experience, in with their all world, the baggage of that stuff around them. It's kind of amazing. After all this, once again, Flint and Silver barely talking in season 1, being kind of begrudging henchmen in season 2, to kind of quartermaster captain at each other, then kind of learning how to work together in season 3 was so much fun.
Sure.
Then it was great coming back in season 4, and it's just like, hey, buddy, like, we get to drop into that. But and however wherever that goes from there, we'll have to see. Yeah,
we will have to see. Yeah,
I'd love to ask your perspective just about that scene around the fire there at the finale of season 3. And particularly that what you were just talking about when he said, Silver said, that I respect you now. I think of you as a friend now. And when I think that I might be the end of you, I'm unnerved was the word. And Daphne and I sat there on that word for a while because it was such an interesting choice to use the word unnerved. And I wonder if you can say now, just from the perspective of then and not think about season 4, to say.
I know we're making you look far into the past.
I was going to try and watch it beforehand. It was one of the ones I didn't have ready to go on here, so it wouldn't have downloaded in time. But
that's okay.
Because it is an interesting one after everything else we've gone through. But I do love that episode, and that.
God, it's so good.
I think we sent the crew home because it was a night shoot, and I think we sent the crew home 2.5 hours early that night. Because we just went in, it was like that was the one where where Toby and I went round on our little time off and go, let's just do this, and it was like all night to do that thing. It was like, no, we just do the whole episode as one. I think we broke into a couple of pieces, but we kind of did most of it as one thing. But I think it's and it's interesting, just even the way Silver is. I think you get a similar thing with Max and Silver. Where because of their nature and because of what we've seen of them, people don't know when to trust them in the audience, like, and how sincere they're being.
Yes, absolutely.
And I do think it is, and it's hard it's funny not remembering the exact moment of how that falls in the arc of that episode. But I think it is honest, and he's maybe his way of saying, because if you do go back to the very beginning of the show, what kept him safe was that he wasn't connected to anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right.
And that let him get out of anything and let him be adaptable. Mm-hmm. He's the ultimate adapter, and you could do that if you're willing to leave everything behind.
Sure.
That not only has he become connected to the crew, this friendship, this kind of, and not only the friendship and what it means to them, the power they get from the friendship, what it means that they can do together, it's all round. I think it's scary unnerved is because it's compromising.
I like that.
And this is me. I could even be wrong. It's it's going. No. But I think that is one of the things.
Just talking about the show.
It is.
Yeah, we're just Again, we throw out our theories about what's going on there all the time. Feel free. Nobody's going to hold you to it.
But I think that is the thing of being compromised in different ways. Both because that's what cost him his leg was he's compromised by his allegiance with the crew. And then it could go any way. I think that's the thing. The reason he wasn't ever going to ally himself with Flint is because he sees what Flint is.
Which is terrifying.
And it's funny that in spite of that, he becomes his friend. He knows better than anyone. He saw it a mile off better than anyone. Him and Billy, they stood there and they went, we know how dangerous this guy is to himself, to us, to everyone.
Yep.
Silver, by the end of season 3, they are really close allies. But he still knows. And it's like, it's that feeling of going, I know that you, like, we're here and this is good, but I know what you are. And
yeah.
in the past, that has killed the people closest to you. But because I see it, because I saw it a million miles off, because I was there the last time it happened to your friend, and because of what seems to be happening with me on this ship, I'm pretty sure that's not going to, I'm not going to get sucked in and destroyed the same way the others were. But if you are this dangerous, and I know what you are, then it's not going to be, if it's not going to be me, it's probably going to be you.
That's so interesting.
Right. What we talked about is also because Silver now has the relationship with Maddie.
Yeah.
I mean, Maddie has shown Silver a whole different way of being than the one that Flint was representing.
Yeah, it's good. You are
leadership.
You are a force of destruction. You cannot destroy things around you. I am now the closest thing to you, and I have these things. Yeah, between Marty and between the crew and their respect for him and everything going on, it's like, it's not going to be me this time, buddy. You know, and rather than feel good in that or making it a threat, it's going, I'm worried for you because I know what you are.
Although it doesn't feel like not a threat when he's saying it.
Yeah.
It definitely has an element of threat.
It's interesting. I think it's even more, it is part of it. But I think it's also, he's if I think about the conversations that would have happened, say, between season 2 and 3, between, say, Rackham and Silver, these scenes that we've never seen. But you know, when Rackham came back with the gold and Silver came back, and at some night it was like, okay, let's go sit somewhere with a few bottles of rum and let's hash this out.
I know. I want that scene.
I
wanted that scene.
I want that scene too, yeah. But I think Silver's a philosopher. I think he can remove himself. Flint is a bit as well, but I think he's in it.
He's in it, yeah.
Silver can remove himself from these situations and talk. He can play devil's advocate, or he can talk about himself separate to being emotionally engaged with it. And so, well, maybe there is some part of a threat in there. Like, I think the threat is just going, I know what you are, and it's not going to happen to me.
Right.
But,
and Silver has always known what Flint is.
Yeah, but it's kind of going... But kind of talking this out, like seeing it a little bit separate to himself, which I think Silver can always do, and talk about it in a way that's like, I think I see what's going on. And that worries me because I can't see it happening the way it's happened before, but I can't see you not imploding, exploding, going all Flint. You know, that when that happens... Yeah, I think that's it. So I think it's more, well, there is that element in there of going, just so you know, I'm not, you know, I'm a bit unnerved by the fact that, like, hang on, you destroy everyone close to you. Now we're here as close as we are. But I know it's not going to be me. And that makes me worried about what could happen to you. I think it is just that, in some ways, that simple.
Makes me worried. That's interesting.
Yeah, and him also catching himself going, and, you know, this kind of happens going, and he doesn't want, and also this boy going, and I don't think I want anything bad to happen to you.
Yeah, that was the interesting part to me, is that he really seemed, as much as the words did imply some sort of threat, it really did seem like he was kind of genuinely concerned for his friend and for the outcome. Yeah, just that this can't end well. Like, we're both not just going to be standing on the quarterdeck, you know, fist bumping at the end of this.
No, which Billy knows as well. You know, with all Billy's talk about maybe just wanting to be around to see the end of it, where it all makes sense again. They know. There are those moments when Billy and Silver were, you know, around the Becalmed in that time, where they were kind of this duo working to try and control Flint and, you know, work against Flint for the benefit of the crew. Somewhere there is that knowledge that, like, he is this thing. And suddenly, by the end of season 3, Silver's, you know, humanized this monster. You know, at some point it was this mythical, you know, it's might have been the
mythos. Yeah, we're talking about the mythos of Flint.
Yeah, he's humanized him and he sees. He was like, no, I get you. We're friends and I like you. But you are a force of destruction that I don't think can ever stop. Because I don't know what you could be if you stopped. You know, it's like he's seen enough to go like, if history keeps repeating itself, you know, I have to let you kill me like I saw you strangle your last quartermaster, or something's going to change.
That's right. I forgot he walked right in on that. God, that was so good. All of that was so good.
Yeah, he was there for that.
He was there for that.
Oh, he was managing it. I mean, Silver
Yeah.
has been in the managing Flint business for a really long time already.
Yeah. There's some sense of discussing that and going like, this is an interesting, more just catching myself at this place and going, after hearing that story, going, you kill everyone close to you, that's not going to happen with me. That makes me more worried about you. But it's more, so they have that little moment, but it is catching themselves in this moment of two friends sharing a drink by a fire, burying some treasure, which is just some good fun piratey stuff.
Right? That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Were you all actually passing the bottle back and forth?
No, they each had their own bottle, didn't they? It was passing?
We're passing the bottle there, yeah.
That's even better.
Because it was the bottle that Rackham left them.
Yes.
I don't, we don't say anything to each other. Me and Schmitz, they bring the two Aussies over. He stabs me through a wall in season 1. And he hands me a bottle in season 3. That's all the interaction at this point we've had.
That's it. It was not enough.
I know.
Yeah.
I talked about that a lot. Super thrilled to finally have the two of you sing together.
We were too. It was finally nice to actually have a. But I do think there are a lot of, I think, in the deleted scenes between seasons. I'm sure Rackham and Silver had to catch up to talk about first what to do with the treasure. Then there would have been all the talks between 2 and 3 about forming, Oh, yeah, sorry. So that's right. Yeah, so between 2 and 3, there would have been all that stuff. Then there'd be some other things kind of coming later on. Yeah, because then they're all, around that. At 3, we leave them all together at the Maroon camp. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So there'd be these scenes that will never be seen where I do think those two would have got on very well.
Now I just want the Rackham Silver spinoff show.
Yeah, just
God, yes.
Just talking pirate, it should have been the after every episode. It's Rackham and Silver sharing a drink, talking about what happened,
like at the end of a Marvel movie.
You all could compete about who's smarter than the other one, and it would be really awesome.
Yeah, I think they all know the dirt. I think they were gossiping like crazy. I think they all knew the dirt on each other's what's happening on the
Wait a second. That was Silver and Rackham, or that was you and Toby Schmitz?
Both. Completely both. Yeah. So no, that's the fun thing. It's just the fun thing about the show. Whenever you had those moments to finally kind of interact with each other, was always good fun. But no, so I think it was great because there aren't many moments in the show where the pirates win, where it feels like the good guys have all around won. And I think even in season 3 there is that nice little moment where it's okay, this is across the board. Almost everyone's actually at a good spot right now.
Sure.
Yeah. Which completely continues all through season 4, and everyone just has a great time.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's all just smiles and laughs and champagne toasts.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said to Liz, that we can take a cruise down to Nassau and it's full of pirates right now.
Exactly. It all turned out well for the pirates.
Oh, if only. That would be lovely. Okay, I'm going to ask you one question, though, that you probably can't answer.
Well, great.
But I'm going to ask it anyway.
All right, great. Yeah, make it easy.
All right, Luke. Who is Solomon Little?
Now, will that be... So that just drops into a whole world of Silver backstory. Which...
Okay, so that's my follow-up question. Do we get Silver backstory? Please tell me we get Silver backstory.
It is dealt with in season 4 in a very interesting way, but that's all I can say. I can't, yeah.
That is enough. You just made me the happiest person.
I'm going to be interesting. Your response to that is going to be very interesting.
All right.
Yeah, I can't actually say, and even hinting or anything would be terrible.
You said enough. You said you just made so many people happy.
Well, wait.
Knowing that Silver's backstory will be even addressed.
Yeah.
Now I'm nervous.
Okay. Liz, this is what's making you nervous. I'm nervous about every single thing about season 4.
I can't even say any. Yeah, I want to kind of even I was I can't say anything. So,
no.
So that's all.
Fair enough. You said enough. I didn't even think I was going to get that much out of you. I'm very excited.
Just had to try.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, I have another question that's I guess it is about season 4, and you can be super vague. So Silver in season 1 and season 2. I guess there's 2 parts to this question. So Silver in season 1 and and the beginning of season 2 we've talked about this a lot, about Silver's transformation. So Silver went from loner, happy grifter guy, to like super, super serious guy. And I feel like at the end of season 3, he kind of started to become comfortable with himself. Like he had gone through his like transformation, his dealing with Flint, his dealing with his own attachment to suddenly learned attachment to the world. But he's not super happy. Well, happy. Is anyone happy in Black Sails? He's not happy-go-lucky. He's no longer plucky.
No.
By the end of season 3, like, will part of his integration be that he learns how to integrate his plucky self with his...
I was interested in going down that road and seeing what kind of a leader he could be that would be different to the leaders we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a lot of leaders in the show. We see how everyone else handles
Yes,
that
there
role.
are.
And we see that addressed particularly, in season 3 with Marty and how she's a leader is different to Flint.
Yeah.
And, listen to you to talk about that.
Yeah, we do adore her a lot.
Fantastic. Like, that character is so... Zetu is brilliant in it, and that character is just... I think all the characters on the Maroon, like, from the Maroon camp, and the way that begins to expand from, 305... onwards, which is a huge part of season 4 as well. I don't think the writers could have handled any of that better or written these characters any better. I think they are beautifully...
Agreed.
I actually get the feeling sometimes that the pirates are the thorn in the Maroon story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's kind of the perfect way it should be. Like, we've kind of rocked up. I think theirs is the bigger, better, more historical story. And we're a bunch of pirates dealing with our own revenge and, our own little backstories and this. And it's like, and I find it so compelling, all the actors on that side of thing and their characters, that story. And she's such an interesting character, Marty, and so perfect for Silver to bounce off against. Amazing to have such a strong, to find what he finds with such a strong woman. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Good stuff to come.
I'm so excited about this. Yeah, I'm very excited. I loved Maddie from minute 1. I mean, the first words out of her mouth, I was like, this is my girl, and I'm into this.
And the Queen as well. It's just like you go,
the Queen as well. Yeah, they're dynamic together.
You should have just killed us in the cage where we become such a problem.
Oh, no.
But it's amazing how much the reality of all that stuff too, that so much is historically accurate to those Maroon Wars that went on, fighting the British in the jungle for years and years.
So incredible. Mm-hmm.
What was the question again?
What was the question? We're just talking Black Sails.
Oh, find the plucky leadership again. There we go.
Oh, yes.
Circles with these answers.
No, we're totally enjoying every minute of it.
There was I thought there was a potential for that. Mm-hmm. Things get very serious for Silver very, very quickly in season 4. What he's been through is nothing compared to what he kind of goes through.
Hey, I saw the first 15 minutes, so that's already...
Yeah, it is. So we're a long, long way from pluckiness in season 4. There was maybe a world where that could have happened. I think the closest glimpse you get, I think, is kind of around 309. When he talks about what happened with Dobbs, and then he
right.
So talking about what happened with Dobbs and the conversation on the porch. There's a kind of confidence he's got there. Because I think he was taking over this role because he was never in season 1 and 2. He's not trying to prove anything to anyone. Ever.
Right.
Like he says, I'm a coward on this. He's like, don't think anything. I'm not trying to be anything. Don't put me in it. Like, I'm this. People see him as something else. And as he starts to take that responsibility does not weigh on his shoulders weighs very heavily on his shoulders. Mm-hmm. Especially now that he's lost a leg too. It's like, this is not, how am I meant to do this job against this force of Flint? Yeah. By the end of season 3, it's like, hang on a second, like, I think I'm pulling this off. Like, there's something working here. That conversation where he says, like, where else would you wake up in the morning and matter? And I think,
matter.
Yeah, no, I'm matter here. And I think all the skills that he had that kind of got as his little drifter for so long, they get to come to the forefront. It's like, no, this is where I'm meant to be. It didn't get going well. Maybe he could have probably been a fantastic leader, as he would have brought some of that lightness into the role. But Oh, it goes dark very, very quickly.
Fate didn't have that. Fate was not ready for that.
No time for that. But I guess he gets, some of that comes back in Treasure Island time. But like Silver in Treasure Island, he's completely self-deprecating. He plays lower status to everyone.
Yeah.
And but he makes everyone laugh. The whole thing about him is that he makes everyone feel warm and feel important. And that's what sucks Jim in over and over again. Even when Silver turns on him back and forth, he's like, but that smile and that charm from him, I want to be his friend.
Yes.
And so I think it comes back eventually.
I was going to say we have to have something, because even now we're getting the Silver that is for the crew, but we don't see that same kind of charm that you're talking about, that drawing of people in. Like they're earning his respect for sure. I loved everything about Dobbs; is all brilliant.
Oh my god!
But we're just at the beginning of that at the end of season 3, I think, because it was the loss of the sacrifice of the leg earned the favor with the men more than the personality of Silver, for sure.
Yeah. But at that point, they were already, listening to him. He was doing the talks every day.
That's true. He was doing the talks and stomps.
Already had the guy kill his best friend because Silver gave a look.
Yeah.
So there was...
right.
No, that's a crazy
so there
moment.
Was a...
That is a crazy moment.
Yeah, so I think there was already a thing where people...
An influence, certainly.
And I think it began in those, the stomp talks to the crew. Mm-hmm. I think there's still already that moment that even though, once again, he's still playing lower status, he's taking the punches.
Yeah, right.
But there's some energy he's creating around him that didn't exist before. That's like... And I think that community... There's a sense of community there, and like everyone kind of once again they're playing when they're fighting with each other. And this, it's like he's bringing a spirit to this that didn't exist before, especially not under just Flint. Flint was like aloof,
right?
Yes.
In his room. We knew it was smart. We knew he'd get us paid, but he wasn't any fun. He didn't make it like this was kind of it was hard work and very serious. And it's like then Silver comes on, and even though he's kind of a buffoon, it's like he's creating an energy that's like. This is, I think a bit of that pirate sensibility, which is what Treasure Island is all about. You go like, and what Jim's been sucked into there, this mythology. So being a storyteller like Silver, whenever he is telling those stories, he's building the mythology of the pirate world while they're in it.
Oh, God, that's good, Luke. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, man, I think I only thought of that then. I should go back and make sure I put that into those scenes. But there is, he is, Flint is a storyteller too, but that Silver's strength is the story. And
no, but they're very different styles of storyteller.
Yeah.
Very.
And even though it's
true.
manipulative, it's manipulative in a way that makes everyone kind of feel good. Silver's storytelling. He tells a story everyone wants to hear.
Right.
And so I think that by the time that, I guess his is a world when he does start taking leadership, and some of that does go out of, it's not the fun buffoonery before. But I guess, and a lot of it kind of happens off screen and is filled in by other people. But I think it's the thing that Silver, he inspires that in everyone. People want to get behind him like back then because like, oh, this is like he's building the pirate mythology. But when it's like, now we're going to war with them.
Yes.
Like he's putting a voice to that, like this means something. This is like, we're fighting the good fight. They're the villains. We're going to go down in history. And I think that's, even if it's not as inspiring in a fun way as it was before, there should still be that power there that like, that those kind of those good speech makers always have. Mm-hmm. There you go. I want to be on that side of the story.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and Silver drew them in with the fun, and then once you got to the point where Silver needed to inspire them to do more difficult things, he had already gained their allegiance.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about the stomping. Yeah. Our very dearly beloved cabin boy, Andrew Dice, brought up the stomping to us because of we did not talk about this or notice it, but he did, this kind of terrifying stomping thing of Silver stomping to get attention when he starts doing the daily reports, and then Silver with his later stomping experience. And so we actually asked John about this. We asked John Steinberg about this, if that was something that he had planned out. And he said that the stomping in the beginning was your idea.
They called it the Luke Special. It was...
the Luke Special. I think I need a cocktail called that, I think.
That's what I said. It was from a conversation with Stefan Schwartz, who directed that. I guess that's 202, the first episode where the stomping comes in.
Yeah,
but it was in a conversation going. I mean, I love. We have a lot of words in this show, and I think. Obviously, it gets explained at certain points. Once again, we hear people talk about Silver's storytelling ability, but I think seeing it's always important. Sure. And I think that the visual thing of seeing him stomp alone and going, what's this weird thing? And then then when you see everyone join in, like, I think it tells you a lot without having to explain it. It's once again, I think his understanding that ritual, I think probably he has an understanding that ritual is important. Which again, I think a lot of symbolism, mythology, and ritual goes into the same things and how you can use them to get people on side. And I think that's just like, everyone loves that. Everyone loves to have some little, whether it's a handshake or some call and response that makes you feel part of some little group. And I think it was just, something in him going, this is going to make everyone want to not attach to him and this crew and what this crew is going to mean and get used to every day me being here and doing this thing. So it's just, I think that sense of creating ritual around himself.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know it's just a conversation with, and it just nicely punctuated that whole thing, because it is that great feeling, I guess, like it kind of mirrors Silver as a whole, that the first time you see it, you're like, okay, what's that? And then
what are you doing? You're embarrassing yourself, son. Sit down.
which Flint expressed for us perfectly.
You see episodes later when it's first item and everyone stomps together, you're like, of course. Like, and it feels good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of old team sports in the dugout when everybody's, hollering all the chants and stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. Or boot camp even with I don't know what I've been told. It's that same camaraderie. Right. Absolutely.
But no, it is good fun. And I think that's the thing. I think Silver, there was a certain point there where his knack, I think just being shameless is part of it. I mean, because he thinks he's going to leave. He doesn't think he's going to be a pirate.
Yeah,
this is like the dumbest idea in the world.
Oh,
From the very beginning, he looks at these, but how serious everyone is and miserable. It's like, no, I'm going to get my money and I'm out of here. And there's a power in that, I think. It's like that whole, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We're all often a version of ourselves on holiday, on vacation that we'd never be back at home because we're like, because I'm not going to be here next week until they. Yeah.
Right.
Nothing to lose. Yeah.
Until they take your leg.
He was the guy with one leg out the door and then they cut it off. So it all changes after that point.
I like that very much.
So okay, we do have to talk about the stomping on Dufresne.
Oh yeah.
Scene. Ooh. That's the second half of my. Can I just talk for 1 second?
Please.
I mean, you maybe listened to that episode of the podcast where I kind of freaked out about it, but that's incredible. That was incredible and the most terrifying thing and the most amazing thing. Like watching. See, I don't even know. Yeah. Do I say you? Do I say Silver? I don't even know who I'm talking about this way. to watch the process of you showing Silver like doing this horrible thing and then calming himself down. But yeah, did you all like did you all like see the connection then to the stomping in season 2? Or was this just like a beautiful happy accident? And
I think it was probably a beautiful happy accident. I think definitely when we were doing the stomping there was a sense that like the leg, we knew a leg was going to go at some point, so there was some sense of that in the lead up.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we would choose it,
I didn't think of that.
Crap or something, it's like...
Right.
Almost every episode there'd be a gag where it'd be like climbing up and a shark almost bites the leg. Because it's that weird thing hanging out from the beginning, like, when's it going to go? So anything with the leg kind of became...
Right.
You're not doing anything too on the nose, but it was always there. So I think it was more in that way that when we were first doing it was like, oh, this will be interesting to see how this will play out after all these other things eventuate, if we ever get that far in the show. Because we didn't know if maybe that was going to be the very last scene. I was going to be left on an island with a manacle around my leg and, chew it off or something. Who knew how it was going to happen?
Right.
But so I think there was some awareness of that. I can't remember if we were kind of retroactively linked it up. I think maybe then you get a sense of it when you see Dooley recreating it afterwards. It's like, okay, there's the stomping kind of comes back in.
Mm-hmm.
But that whole scene was incredible. I mean, I think we all had moments in the show where it's great that you're in it for so long and you still read these scripts and just go like, I get to I mean, I get to just walk into the tavern and just monologue for scenes and then stomp the least liked character's head in. You know, it's like at this point, everyone's going, and both Giannis, who was so fantastic, and Roland, who took it over, you know, like did such a great job with that role, and kind of both between them took it on such a great arc. But Dufresne himself was just so. At that point, he was like, "Yeah, okay, come on, let's get this guy out of here."
Just so hateable.
Yeah, so that it was kind of, it was like, oh, you're just giving me, like, okay, if anyone was still on the fence from, like, not liking Silver at the beginning, you go, well, this is going to solidify it. You know, everyone's going to go, okay, I'm on Silver's side now. But
they're like, give me Dufresne. I will make everyone like me because I'm the one who makes Dufresne go away.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, that was kind of at this point, because there's all that thing where it's interesting where so many people... It's interesting because you get people who, like, from the moment Silver says he's a coward, like, I don't like cowards. And he was sort of fish out of water as well in there. Like, he was not pushing, you know, he was trying to leave the show for the first season and a bit.
Right, yes.
So, but there is that thing of, like, suddenly, you know, season 3, you go, okay, give me, you know, I get a gorgeous African queen and stomp in Dufresne's head. It's like, okay, God, you better be on my side now or something's wrong. And... but it is that scene was so great to do, and it is always one of those, you know, when you get to the end of it and you're doing all the stomping, which is just a technical nightmare. I had a fantastic double as well, so it's funny that a lot of the iconic shots are not me. They're a guy called Bender Yeager who lost the bottom half of his left leg in a rigging accident.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, you know, so it's the kind of things that go, okay, I stomp the head. Now Ben will put the thing on and stomp the head. Now we're going to get an up-close stomping of the head. Now we're going to throw some blood on your face. So you're into all that. You know, and it is. Like, in those moments, it's really just like, as I'm stomping, it's someone sitting just off camera trying to throw nice flicks of blood on my face. You know, it's, oh God, someone's not doing it right, so you mop it up and get someone else have to try, flick, and we'll try it with a toothbrush, you know. It's... Yeah, so it was all so immersive. And then it's like...
You're not making it sound very immersive right now.
No, exactly. And then there was that line where you have to deliver the iconic line, you know, a month after that. And it was great that...
long fucking memory. That's good.
It was a nice moment where, you know, between talking to the director and to Dan Schatz, who was there, it's like you go like a bit like this, a bit like that. And the one that's in, you know, it was like... It's just kind of, that particular one. I think we had a little conversation with Dan about taking some time. It was like, okay. And it's not, you know, took the moment, did that one. It's just like, okay, everyone go home. It's like, And it's great when you get that feeling. Like, where you know it as an actor and everyone else is still like, that's the moment, you know?
Yeah.
No,
that's great.
You all nailed that. That was...
It is a wild one. It's, just to get to do that. I mean, to get the trust to do that from the writers and to go like, there's not many shows where you get to do the stuff we do like that. You're just like, hey, you're just going to walk into here. You're going to talk for a couple of scenes. It's just there's so many gifts from the writers in this that.
I mean, that whole episode is incredible. Like that whole episode.
I really love that episode.
Like the process where Billy, like, basically, you know, shifts the power to Silver in when you're still on the walrus, and then the fact that you go and do. I mean, it's just, that is such a powerful episode for Silver, because Silver is really taking on a new mantle at that point.
Yeah.
And then it ends with saying that the darkness feels good. Like, it's really an incredible episode.
That's right. Oh, that was a good line.
I know, that was the thing too, that then, that whole thing, it was amazing to get that. I think that's why one of the reasons, I mean, I love just talking up, you know, the show I'm on. But where I think about, compared to even a lot of other shows out there, like, there's a lot of death in this show. But it always means something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think, even when it happens, and there are some other shows out there that I think at some point it stops meaning something, and you go, oh, I'm just watching psychopaths now.
Right.
Like, who, you know, and it can be really cool, because it means everyone's killing people and then kind of turning just past the camera with a little smirk, and you're like, oh, you got him.
Right.
But it's like, but I don't really believe this is affecting you.
But ultimately, that's not really interesting to me.
Not me either. And I think the amazing thing of this is like that conversation, you know, killing Dufresne like that, it means, you know, it go, hey, to be great.
So
it's
much.
kind of, it affects him so much,
Right.
and everyone around them. And even though we're killing people all the time, we're in an ongoing war of different escalating levels at all times. It always means something, and everyone around still feels like it means something. And I think to then, it's one thing to go in and kill someone and make it, you know, and go, oh, let's make it look really cool. But instead to see it happen, to go right in and feel the moment afterwards, to then be there to later that night and talk about it, it's like, that's so interesting. I think to me, both as an actor and as a viewer, it's like, this is exactly what you want to be doing. To take those moments and see how deep can we go into it? How far into that abyss can we stare?
Wow.
And so it was just great to do that. And that it doesn't ever stop. It's somehow amongst all the carnage, it means something every time. It's great that I think we ever got complacent with murder in this show, which would have been very easy. And things happen in everything else, you know. That was the episode that I'm like, if I quit acting after this, I've got to be happy. Like I go like, that's kind of like when I set out to be an actor. You get an episode of TV like that. It's like, okay, that'll do. Or maybe I go do something else.
Yeah, this is the dream. I did it. I did the thing.
I got handed a really good opportunity, and I'm really happy with the result. It's like,
and you nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, you did nail it.
It's interesting. I don't know if you ever nail. I think that's the beauty of feeling like, because I feel like the show is us and everyone's involved. It is that.
Oh, of course, sure.
You never feel at 100% with your performances and what you do. But there is something in this show that at a certain point, it's like, well, it's us in our show. It comes to a point where you can't imagine anyone else doing your part or anyone else's, which feels really nice.
Yes, I agree. I can't imagine anyone but you as Silver.
I think for any other character in this show, it would be a very different show with anyone else in there.
It's beautifully cast. We talk about that all the time, of course, but it is just perfectly cast.
Yeah, we clearly love it quite a bit.
Pick that up.
I mean, it's all right. That Pirates show. I mean, if you're into it.
Yes, you all have turned me into pirate lover.
Pirate groupie.
Yeah,
right?
seriously. Professional pirate groupie, in fact.
Professional pirate groupie. That's right.
As you should be. But that's the great thing as well about being on a show that you're so proud of. That I think, you know, that's always one of the things about, you know, if anyone does ever recognize you from anything, it's so good with this that it's like, I'm so happy to, like, I'll talk about Blake Sales all day long. I love meeting people who've watched the show and love the show because I'm so proud of it. I'm proud of everyone in it and what we've done. Another reason to maybe walk away after doing it, because you're like, I feel really good about that. Like, what if, you know,
Yeah.
otherwise people are going to, you know, might end up people recognizing me from something that I'm really embarrassed about. Where it's like, this feels really good right now. So no, it's still a really, and especially it still feels like the show's being discovered. It's still
absolutely,
so appreciative of everyone who kind of follows the show and watches the show and talks about the show and loves the show.
Yeah.
Yes, you do have a lot of people who love the show, and we're hoping for many, 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 many more over time, because it's, well, again, I think it's the best show ever made. So so there is that. But wait, I have more questions. What was my more questions? Oh, I know we've talked so much about Silver's arc, and you've talked about a lot of great moments in it, but I wanted to see if perhaps I could ask, what was your favorite moment? Like, what was your favorite moment in the stages of Silver becoming the person he became, at least by the end of season 3?
I mean, as we were just talking about then, the stomping is pretty big. They're like, getting that was like a big moment of like, it is the big shift, really.
Yeah.
But overall, it is all the Flint-Silver relationship. And there are so many little moments in that I love. Like, there are just one, like, I go back, I love the one, the Flint and Silver in season 2, the like, are we, you know, where like Silver comes up going, are we still going after the gold? You know, like, that's all I needed to hear. And that, and then, you know, like, and there are just so many pieces that, like, the hunting the shark together was incredible. You know, everything on that rowboat was amazing to do. And for me, everything back to the rehearsals and everything, but just all those moments of discovery of how that relationship evolves. And And it's like, there's even a moment early on in season 3 where, like going to season 4 where Flint like smiles, and it's so strange because it's like
he doesn't do that often.
He doesn't smile, and when you see it, it's like, I don't know how to do this show anymore. I don't feel like I'm in the show because that's Toby, like my friend. That's not Flint, like this growling force. But at the same time, it's great because you think of all the little moments in the relationship from that very beginning. So I think as much as it's like been so great working with everyone, working with Toby and charting the strange little journey of Flint and Silver through the whole show is really that's what it all comes down to for me. Yeah, which couldn't have been more fun, and it's kind of strange and funny and just really interesting. It's great playing two very smart people as well. It's the conversations you can get into where you have two very intelligent people either fighting with each other or trying to work stuff out together. It's like we got to do a lot with those two characters.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that. I mean, this is a show full of smart people. I think it was in season 1 at some point where we had a whole conversation about like smart pirates being smart.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's probably what it, like back then there were a lot of people going to be pirates, but a little bit of intellect would have gotten you a long way amongst these people, I think. A bit of intellect and a bit of charisma is like, okay, you can be captain.
Right.
Yes.
And that does feel like what it is. It's like you've got all these people on this island, but it's why Flint can come in so quickly and rise to the power that he does, and that Silver can do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the place where you can be anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, what a neat, I mean, that's a neat way to look at this, whatever we're going to call it, this not anti-civilization, but alternate civilization is that, is that it's a world where you really, really can rise based on merit, as opposed to England at the time where that was not an option.
Which is what Flint tells Silver as well. It's like, where in the morning where you wake up and matter, because it's like, in the society that exists where you came from, there is no rising.
Right.
There's no, you are your class. You are where you begin is where you will end.
Right.
And no one will ever, everyone will see you the same at all times. Out here, like someone like you, like, he sees it because you know there's such opportunity for him there. And here, anyone can be anything. It is based on merit. It is one part of the idea of freedom that they're fighting for. That becomes encapsulated in as the war escalates. And because I think it is a different thing for every. It begins with Hamilton and his idea of what can happen out here, and because I think so often the idea of being a pirate and the romantic idea about it, this kind of freedom idea. It existed as the idea like, you're free to sail the seas and you're free to, live a life wherever you want. And it was a nice idea, but it never really meant much. It was kind of this symbolic idea of freedom. But I think in here, you could look at each character and see why this is so important to them. And it kind of like why making this work, why risking everything to really build a life here that is theirs is so important. And it's different for all of them. And as you hear everyone's backstory, it all kind of comes into play. Why, just going back to civilization is not an option.
Right.
It's against everything they would fight for.
This is why I want Silver's backstory. I mean, I just feel like I said this not so long ago, when we hear someone's backstory, so much of what we've seen them do suddenly falls into place.
Yeah. When you understand what they're fighting for and against.
I know. It's just so everyone knows, Luke just zipped his lips. I don't want you to spoil anything. I honestly, for my own sake, I don't want it spoiled. I don't care in most shows about spoilers. I mean, Liz knows, and all of our listeners knows how strongly I have tried to keep aspects of this story from being spoiled for first-time listeners and watchers, because it's not that this show doesn't have incredible rewatch value. Again, I am proof of that. I don't even know how many times I've rewatched the show, but to watch the way that the story is told the first time is just such a beautiful experience. So no, I don't want you to spoil anything, but this has been my huge wish throughout, is to find out any amount, just because every time we learn a backstory, it has been such a rich experience. It's been a really beautiful experience. I know. Sorry. I'm torturing you. I apologize.
Yeah, because it's a big conversation in maybe a different way than you'd think, but we could have an interesting conversation after.
Okay,
that's probably a good next time I have a talk is after 4:09.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Now let's have a conversation after it's all done. That would be amazing.
Still, it's very hard to, because I've seen season 3 a bunch of times, and then, because you watch it kind of, somebody like, watch to begin with, and sometimes watch, sometimes when we're live tweeting and things where 4 is still, I think it's so brilliant in so many ways, but I think it feels very different to anything before. And I think it does feel like the end from the very beginning. Because it started very quickly, you're like, oh no, the end is coming. Like the characters feel it in a way. It's, yeah. It's, so I don't know. I'm still coming to terms with what season 4 is going to feel like as a whole. I know it's great. Yeah. I know it's everyone's best work. I definitely say for the cast, everyone's best work is in season 4. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, but it is satisfying in different ways to the seasons before, I think. And definitely much darker.
Oh dear.
Oh dear is right. Okay, can I ask one last question? And this is completely self-indulgent. Liz might already know what I'm about to ask you about now that I've said that. This is the last question I'll ask you about seasons 1 through 3.
Yes. Oh, Daphne. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I cannot resist. So, again, I'm not sure how much you've listened to of our podcast, but I did have in the beginning a bit of an obsession about Randall.
Oh, Randall.
So, I need to know, half-wit or goddamn genius? Which one? What do you think?
It's... Look, both, but it wasn't an act. I'd say half-wit. I think after...
I may have to ask John this as well.
Yeah. And I don't think we'd all love the idea at some point in one of the flashbacks of seeing Randall pre-accident.
Oh my God. I don't even want to think about how much fun that would have been. Yeah,
it would have been really fun, which you never got to do. As fun as Randall was... And Lawrence Joffrey it was great fun working with him, and he did a great job with it. When you look at all the offsiders, I think Silver had a string of offsiders, and and that all brought out very different things. And Randall was good fun, but at a certain point, I was like, "Can I talk to someone who talks back?" It's like.
It was kind of like having a lot of scenes with a cat,
yes, and then
or a parrot, some kind
of the great henchman in season 2, who was brilliant, and I think we would have loved to have kept him on. There was just no way to continue Silver's lie about knowing where the gold was.
Right.
I was like, oh God, he has to go. Unfortunately, he was fantastic as well. Then I guess season 3, we now we have Flint and Silver together as the duo mainly.
Goodness. Yeah, finally.
I get another offsider in season 4.
Oh, do you?
Which is
I'm fascinated.
Absolutely, in this series of Silver offsiders, it's the ultimate, and it's such a brilliant. There's a new character coming on board who brings a whole new energy in there. So as much as I'd say Randall, from my experience, I feel Randall half-wit. Only because I think, feeling Silver's frustration in so many of those moments.
I loved it.
It's like, it'd be too frustrating to think that he could have not, that he could have just opened his mouth and kind of helped out at any of those moments.
See, it's so funny. I was prepared to be delated by either answer. Like, if the answer is half-wit, that means that Silver was reading so much into what Randall was doing, and that's pretty awesome. Because Silver was just being super self-defeating then.
That's right. Well, I think as well, it goes to that thing of Silver working out his way of never being threatening to anyone. Because they're both playing he thinks, maybe we're both playing a similar game.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm playing I'm playing pretty low status. I'm no threat to anyone. I'm a bit of a phone. Yeah. It's like, you've taken this to a whole other level, mate. I don't know. You're like, maybe, yeah. But So I think he still has some.
It always reminds me of there's like like an actual person. I don't know if he's alive anymore, but there was like that head of the mafia who was pretending to be like have some sort of mental disability, and then they discovered that he wasn't. And so it's like I always like, is Randall like that guy? Like, what is we had listeners like making theories about what Randall was kind of symbolically. And this is me. It's all me. I've done this to everyone. It's horrible. It's true.
It is. I know Randall was so. I think that's the interesting thing about the show. And then, like what I say, there is a lot of death in there. Lots of people die, but it is a great. I kind of like the. As much as like there were so many great characters and actors in the show that have had to been lost along the way, but there's a certain point you're like, but I think you got to. Like, I'm pretty good because to advance things, it's like that worked for this amount of time. But there's so many characters in the show, you got to kind of like, we got to clean that slate, and that it also doesn't mean to Silver. I think that's the sad thing. I kind of feel a little bit bad sometimes. I think most of the deaths in the show serve Silver more than anyone.
That's true. Like Muldoon as well.
Oh, yeah, Muldoon, absolutely. But I even go like, Gates had to die for Silver to get closer to Flint.
Oh, my God, I didn't think about that, right?
Mrs. Barlow had to die for Silver to come closer to Flint.
Yeah.
Vane had to die for Silver to become the new leader of the pirates. It's everyone had to die, but yeah. So Silver season 4.
So it's your fault.
I know. I was going to say this whole thing
that
that Silver said at the end of season 3 about Flint could be turned against Silver.
Yeah.
This idea that it's a fool that doesn't notice a pattern.
Exactly. Story-wise and plot-wise, yes. Not because of his character.
No,
yes.
He did nothing in there to do it or earn it. But just like, okay, if we have to make this stuff happen by the end of season 4,
we got to get this guy here. Yeah, you've got to go.
And so that was kind of it. It's like every time someone died, it's like, I got a bit more to do this for the next few episodes. Which was sad to see someone go every time, but it was a little bit like, the only way we get to Silver season 4 was to make a little room in that space. But which is also what it's about. It's like Flint, you couldn't have where we end Flint and Silver in season 3. You couldn't have if Gates and Miranda were still around.
Sure, of course.
Which sucks. But once again, talking about like how death is important, their presence is felt continuously. It is about Miranda. She's still there, and Vane as well. His shadow hangs very heavy over the rest of the show, as it should. You'd ask a question about Randall, and I just
no, I love it. And of course, death is incredible. I mean, this is a brutal world with very high stakes. There has to be death, and the fact that the story manages to always have the death have meaning just makes the stakes higher, and are again, you all break our hearts continually, and we come back for more because the story is so well told.
Yeah, they did, which is why the main reason why you go like for all of us being exhausted to end there. You see the work the writers are putting to this for all those years. That's another thing too. Like, it feels like one story, and you could go back and yes, sometimes there's a bit going, okay, maybe something got added here and there. If you look like between season 1 and end of season 3, in very, very small ways.
Yeah, but
the care taken in the whole thing to go like, this all works. This all feels like one story. And so many shows at some point you're going like, I call bullshit now. Or like you go like something's that work does not come from not giving this everything and all your energy. And so as much as I don't know if I'll ever do a job that's as satisfying as Black Sails ever again, at a certain point you're like, okay, you thank you for everything, guys. Now like take a little bit of a break from this, because it's taken it all, to make a story where every character feels so developed, so deep, and so real. Which just makes our job so much easier. It's like, and joyful. Right. Like, it's as good as it gets when you get characters like these to play.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing.
You got 10 more hours. 10 more hours of Black Sails left.
I know.
10 more hours of bliss.
Yeah. Like 100 for you, Daphne, because you watch it 10 times. But
right.
Oh, you have no idea. I already have plans.
Yeah. But no, it's I hope you're really going to like it. I think it's I'm still digesting it all, but I think there's some beautiful, interesting stuff coming up.
Wow.
But yeah, heart's broken again for sure.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We'll come back for more.
Yeah.
It's what we do.
And we all do. Maybe in 10 years we go back and we do some kind of Black Sails Treasure Island. But I think that's it. I think the actors' bodies and the writers' minds will have to rest up for a good decade, and then maybe we're ready for more.
Was that perhaps the first thing I asked you at New York Comic Con? I was like, I think Treasure Island.
Yeah. And it is one of those things. It's like, God, it'd have to be good though. It's like for a show that I think
for sure
it gets better and better. It's like
I will never lose hope that someday. I mean, you and John and Dan all explained to me why it can't be right now, because I came to New York Comic Con, and I'm not the only person. I won't name names, but I came to New York Comic Con hoping that that's what you all were going to announce. And
right, yeah,
no, and all three of you made very good arguments for why it can't be now. But I will.
Right.
I will not lose hope that someday you will do that, because I think it would be incredible, and I would love to see you play that Silver as well.
It would be pretty amazing. Like I'd love. It's the thing is the big thing to digest is that this Silver exists in the context of this show so much.
Yes,
and I say, and all of us walked away from this show going like, there's nothing else I wanted to do. Like I can't think of anything I didn't get the opportunity to do, which never happens.
That's amazing,
like, I think I should as much of this character as I could have imagined or would want to show. I got to do really cool, like awesome stuff amongst it. It's like we left it all on the table. But I think there's just that feeling feels really satisfying. And that doing Treasure Island, which exists so separate, and you'd have to find out some way to go like, okay, there'd be other flashbacks or linking scenes. But would it be as good as also, like, there's no way to make Treasure Island, like Flint, the center of Treasure Island.
Right. No, of course. You would be the center.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, it's like me, I'm like, hey, that'd be great. You know, like, yeah, that'd be really fun and that'd be cool. It's also like, that feels so like something else. It's like Black Sails.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, it's so different. Yeah.
Captain Flint, and there's many great elements to the show, but either maybe John will wake up and like, in maybe 5 years' time, he'll wake up in the middle of the night going like, I know how to make it work. Who knows? Yeah. But no, it's been fantastic to talk with you. It's been really fun. But yeah, I've been looking forward to talk to you again once it's all done and dusted.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Luke, and for giving us all that extra detail and taking us into your perspective. That was wonderful.
Yes, it was really wonderful.
Very happy to talk about Black Sails a lot. So, no, thank you very much. And thank you for you and the listeners, everyone who's still getting the word out there for the show. I think we're still finding new viewers every day, which is really satisfying. Yeah. And enjoy season 4.
We will.
Oh, we will. Don't you worry about that.
we're ready for you to delight us and break our hearts.
Oh, yeah, it's a big one. Bigger again. Yeah.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you're happy with our gift that we gave to you. And Happy New Year.
Yep. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everyone. Have a good one.
Yes. And next week we will be with Lauren. We're going to do our season 3 wrap next week.
So, yeah, the fun keeps coming.
Yep. Exactly.
Fathoms Deep is a Common Room radio production. For more information and access to other programs, please visit us at commonroomradio.com. To show your support, pledges of as little as $1 a month can be made to patreon.com/commonroomradio. Join the conversation by using the hashtag #Fathoms Deep and follow us on Twitter at Black Salescast. We ask that you keep your tweets respectful and positive, and please avoid spoilers. If you have more to say, we want to hear it in all its spoiler glory. Email us at podcast@commonroomradio.com with Fathoms Deep in the subject line. Thanks for listening.